Hey everyone, ready to dig into some serious music television nostalgia? We're talking about the one and only MTV. I bet you've got some memories tied to that logo, am I right?
Oh, absolutely. MTV's got a way of sticking with you.
But we're not just taking a trip down memory lane, we're going deeper. Like, how did MTV go from music video central to, well, barely playing music videos at all?
It was a wild story.
It really is. And you know what? It actually helps us understand some bigger things happening in media and tech, and even how we consume culture as a whole.
Definitely.
So, to guide our deep dive today, we've got some excerpts from A History of MTV, all broken down by era, which is really helpful.
Makes sense.
All right, buckle up, because we're going all the way back to 1981. Cable TV's still kind of new on the scene, and then bam, MTV explodes. And that very first video they play, talk about a prediction.
Video killed the radio star by the Bugles. Yeah, pretty ironic.
You think they knew back then how much they were going to turn the music world upside down?
Hard to say, but there's no denying their impact. And it wasn't just MTV either. Musicians, they really embrace this whole visual thing. Like, think about Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Whoa, thrill. That wasn't just a music video, it was like a whole mini movie.
Exactly. The production, the whole shebang, totally groundbreaking.
Okay.
And MTV, they played it nonstop. It became a phenomenon, cemented in our minds forever.
And then, boom, they launched the VMAs in '84. Let's be honest, it became must-watch TV instantly.
Oh, for sure.
Ah.
The VMAs were more than awards. They were about creating those moments, the ones everyone would be buzzing about the next day at work or school.
So true. But to get the full picture of MTV's rise, we gotta look at what else was going on, right?
Yeah. Cable TV was making its way into more and more homes back then.
Right.
And MTV, they were smart. They zeroed in on a specific audience, young people. They knew these kids were looking for something new, something different from the usual TV fare.
Musically, too, they wanted more than just radio.
Totally. Before MTV, radio play, that was everything for musicians. But MTV, it shifted things. Suddenly, how you looked was just as important as how you sounded. Maybe even more important sometimes.
Wow.
It gave musicians this visual platform, way to connect with fans on a whole other level.
It's really interesting, though, because even with this laser focus on music videos, by the mid to late '80s, you start seeing MTV trying new things, experimenting a bit.
Yeah, those little cracks start to show in that music-only facade.
It's true. Like Remote Control, their first non-music program back in '86, it was this totally wacky gym show. Why do you think they made that move? To air something so different?
I think they were testing the waters,
Hmm.
seeing what their audience would go for. And don't forget, Headbangers Ball, a whole show dedicated to heavy metal. That was pretty bold, even for MTV.
It was. And then there's Unplugged. Still about music at its core, but stripped down, raw. Do you think that showed that maybe audiences wanted something more authentic, something beyond those super polished music videos?
It's possible. Unplugged really resonated with people in a different way. It wasn't about the spectacle. It was more about that direct connection between the artist and the audience. And we can't forget about Choose or Lose. That was MTV stepping into the world of social issues.
Right. They were urging viewers to vote, tapping into that whole generation's desire for change. What kind of impact do you think that had?
I think it was MTV showing they were more than just entertainment. They were aligning themselves with their young audience's values,
Yeah.
becoming part of the cultural conversation, but in a new way.
So we've got MTV dabbling in non-music shows, dipping their toes into social issues, all while reality TV is gaining popularity in the wider TV landscape. Like, Cops was starting to change what people considered entertaining.
That's true.
Do you think MTV knew a change was coming? Or were they reacting to something bigger happening on TV in general?
Well, reality TV was definitely gaining traction. And MTV, they've always had their finger on the pulse of youth culture. They were picking up on this desire for something more relatable, more real, especially from younger viewers. And little did they know, that was about to lead them to a show that would redefine not just MTV, but TV as a whole.
Oh, yeah.
That show was the real world, for sure. Premiered in '92, and man, TV was never the same. It's
Right.
hard to even explain how big of a deal it was.
I know, right? It was huge. Do you remember watching it back then? I do. It was like we were seeing something totally new, like totally unscripted. 7 strangers living together, cameras on them all the time, groundbreaking.
Totally. It tapped into this thing. I don't even think people realized they wanted it. Unscripted drama, real conversations, like a window into the lives of people their own age. And don't forget, the real world didn't shy away from the tough stuff either.
It's true. They really went there. talking about race, sexuality, religion, all these big issues that were happening in the world outside of the show, too.
Exactly. It was like they were holding up a mirror to society, showing how complicated relationships are, but in a way that felt really genuine.
And it wasn't all serious either. There were definitely fun times too, all set to this amazing soundtrack, of course, even though they were exploring this whole new type of TV, that classic MTV identity, that connection to music, it was still there.
Absolutely. And speaking of killer soundtracks and that slightly more, shall we say, irreverent side of MTV, we got to talk about Beavis and Butthead.
Oh man, Beavis and Butthead. So ridiculous. They were crude and hilarious, and I swear parents were not happy about them.
Which, let's be real, probably just made them even more popular. They were controversial, no doubt, but they totally nailed that rebellious kind of absurd humor that MTV's audience loved. This is a far cry from those perfectly polished music videos of the early days.
You can say that again.
But here's the thing. Even with Beavis and Butthead pushing boundaries, MTV was still finding ways to connect with their audience on a deeper level. Remember Rock the Vote back in '92?
Are you kidding? Of course I remember Rock the Vote. They were using their platform to get young people politically engaged, to actually vote. It was huge. And it showed they were paying attention to what their viewers cared about.
It was a smart move, for sure. Entertaining was one thing, but they also wanted to be part of the conversation, empower their audience.
Right. But let's be real. The success of The Real World, it was massive for MTV. They had a taste of that reality TV magic, and, well, they wanted more.
Of course, and they went all in.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the late '90s, early 2000s, the era where MTV really cemented itself as the center of pop culture. And one of the most interesting things about it was how The Real World changed what it even meant to be a celebrity.
It's true. These weren't famous actors or singers. It was everyday people becoming famous just for being themselves, or at least some version of themselves, on camera.
Exactly. You could argue it was the birth of celebrity culture as we know it.
And MTV, they knew how to capitalize on it, that's for sure. They'd have musicians on their reality shows, which made people want to listen to their music, which led to more appearances on MTV. It was this genius cycle.
A cycle that fueled the reality TV takeover, for sure. And by the time the 2000s really hit, music videos, they were on their way out.
Last time we left off, the new millennium was here, and MTV was all about reality TV.
Oh, yeah, they were all in. They just kept cranking out these crazy, addictive reality shows, each one pushing things a little further than the last. It was the era of Jackass.
Jackass, oh man.
People were literally risking their necks for entertainment. And for some reason, we couldn't look away.
It's true. And then you had the Osbournes. Like, who knew watching Ozzy Osbourne trying to figure out everyday life would be so entertaining? But it totally was. What do you think it was about those early 2000s reality shows? What made them resonate so much?
I think they really tapped into the whole experience of being young, the need to fit in, relationship drama, the allure of fame, even if it was just for a little bit. These were real people, with real problems. And I think, for better or worse, people connected with that.
Sure.
Shows like Laguna Beach, My Super Sweet 16, Jersey Shore, these weren't just shows anymore. They were cultural events. And MTV was right there orchestrating it all.
Meanwhile, music videos were lucky to even get a minute of airtime. They were buried between, like, Date My Mom and Pimp My Ride. It's kind of wild how much things change, right?
It just goes to show you, even the biggest names in the game have to adapt. And for MTV, a lot of that change was because of the internet. Because of things like YouTube.
Oh, for sure. YouTube totally changed the game for how we experience media, especially music. We didn't have to wait for MTV to show us what we should be listening to anymore.
Right.
It was all right there at our fingertips, any video, anytime.
It was huge. And it really highlights this key thing about MTV, how they've evolved over time. They went from defining music television to living in a world where music videos were instantly available, anywhere and everywhere.
So crazy.
It really is.
So we've gone from those music video pioneers to the reality TV giants they are today. It makes you wonder, could they have even survived if they stuck with just music videos?
It's an interesting question, isn't it? I mean, one thing's for sure, their willingness to change, to jump into that reality TV world, even though it meant moving away from their roots, it's a big part of why they're still such a big deal in pop culture.
It's quite a journey, right? A network built on music videos ends up shaping the entire world of reality TV. It's pretty amazing. Well, that's our deep dive into the world of MTV, a network that never stopped evolving. Thanks for listening, everyone. Keep those requests coming, and we'll catch you on the next one.